End of an era over on Sunset Boulevard. An Arby's restaurant just a couple of blocks from our studio is closing today after 55 years. All that plywood closing the book on the Arby's franchise, which opened on January 5th of 1969. Once it was the only fast food restaurant on Sunset Boulevard that actually had a view of the Hollywood sign. But nature and urban evolution has put a sunset on that view, and now the Arby's roast beef number 150 is closing. 91-year-old original owner Marilyn Leventon shares her emotions and thoughts on the store's demise.
Truth is, I think it was the pandemic that did us in. I really feel we would have closed during the pandemic, except for the federal loans. Arby's is demanding more technical equipment, which we couldn't afford. And I don't think the $20 an hour wage increase helped either. I'm awfully sorry that it came to this. I think we did a good job for 55 years.
And Marilyn added that she's afraid other fast food franchises now may have to suffer a similar fate. It's too bad. It was close.
I could have missed that one. It was very convenient, yeah.
McDonald's at Stonestown Galleria served its final Happy Meal today. Franchise owner Scott Rodri told me the decision to close was gut-wrenching, but the community came out to show their support in recent days.
Was pretty overwhelming. The number of emails and phone calls that the restaurant team and I got of people sharing their family stories, the moments that they spent at that McDonald's.
Roderick says out of the 8 McDonald's his family owns, the Stonestown location by far is the most expensive to operate. When it came time to renegotiating their lease, he says taxes, rent, and mall fees were just too much. Combine that with the state-mandated $20 an hour minimum wage for fast food workers and more.
The post-COVID economic hangover in San Francisco, concerns about inflation on both sides of my front counter, public safety, job creation, and economic sustainability, the cost of living in the city of San Francisco, all of these issues that are my issues are also my customer issues at Stonestown.
A different restaurant concept is expected to move into the space later this year.
Good luck with that. So you've got a Hollywood Arby's that's been there for 55 years. It is just a little bit younger than I am. I've got it by a few months. I'm November of 68. They opened in 69. I mean, that's a long time for any restaurant. That's a long time for any business in general, especially a fast food restaurant. Comments by the owner were interesting. Hey, we need to, and she was not super young, right? But she was, I think, pretty forthcoming in the fact that she is indicating, hey, we wouldn't have made it through the pandemic if we wouldn't have had that federal help. You know, everybody always points to that federal help, and it's like, we never would have needed the federal help. Any of the businesses wouldn't have needed the federal help if they wouldn't have shut down the economy, right? I mean, yeah, what's up with that, right? I mean, no, don't do that. We don't do that, but we did. We did. And then this $20 an hour minimum. All right, we're going to get the workers the money that they need. Yeah, except if they don't have a job. So we've got that whole thing going on, right? I mean, you've got Arby's, you've got all kinds of, you got McDonald's, you got all kinds of restaurants, and anybody dependent upon that entry level worker is complaining about prices going through the roof. Rent has gone through the roof. Expenses have gone through the roof. Inflation has gone through the roof. And so businesses, even big businesses like an Arby's, whether it's a franchise or not, or McDonald's, are now faced with, you know what? This may not be a viable operation. This no longer is viable. I'm going to go run my other franchises that I have. And, you know, San Francisco can do whatever it wants. Hollywood, LA can do whatever it wants. Oakland, it can do whatever it wants. Because those are the restaurants that we're hearing about on a continual basis, whether it's crime or inflation. You know, you've got a real heavy set of businesses just being closed. Some say it's on purpose. Yeah. Do you think so? Let me know in the comments if you think it's on purpose. It certainly feels that way, doesn't it? So, and the owner, she was quite clear on, and I don't think the $20 an hour minimum wage is helping. No, it's not. So we got farewell Hollywood. Thank you for 55 great years. I mean, that's just sad to see. Sad to see. Oh, she's 91 years old. Marilyn Leventon. She is the one that we saw her in the video. 91 and still talking about business. Man, I can only hope. Right? I can only hope to just be alive at 91, let alone talking about anything relevant. Oh, yeah. And if you're a taco fan, beloved taco chain Rubio's, we covered that. Rubio's Coastal Grill. They've got the killer fish tacos, right? They closed dozens of locations across California earlier this month, citing the increased cost of doing business in the state. Company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy days later. So you've got businesses. This isn't just a one-off here, one-off there. This is an business closing epidemic for sure. I mean, it's just kind of like, what are we even doing here? This is just so crazy. San Francisco's McDonald's closes. Guess why? This is from Hot Air. So on the McDonald's story, the business, I think the franchise owner, he indicated you got mall fees, you've got rent. They couldn't negotiate a reasonable rent. And then just inflation in general. And on top of that, you've got the $20 minimum wage increase. And so for all of these owners, they're basically saying this is a combination of factors that are basically just putting us out of business. Who would have seen that coming, right? All right. You just jack up businesses' expenses by 25%. We'll just see what happens. Well, then those jobs aren't there. Those jobs are not there. And I've been reading more and more about how California has been touting all of its job creation. And what I've been reading more and more about is that those jobs are non-existent. Like they have basically cooked the books on California's jobs. And it's either a net loss or you certainly haven't added the number that have been claimed to be added. So in addition to the higher minimum wage, the mall that this McDonald's was located recently increased rent and imposed a new tenant fee. Property taxes have also increased sharply. All of this combined to make the location the most expensive restaurant in the chain that he operates. So it's location specific. That's the one. It's in California. I've got this, and this going on. I've got the $20 a month. The $20 an hour. And I've got all the income taxes and everything else. All of the expenses have just created these situations where, like the article says, it was just all too much. This is only one of the many similar sad stories unfolding all across California. The driving factors all share one thing in common, however, the increased crime, migrant encampments, higher taxes, and the fees associated with enhanced private security resources. We haven't even really talked about that. They were all driven by the state's liberal policies. Got to take care of the workers, got to take care of the people. Oh, there are no workers because the business closed down? Okay. Well, let's try it again over in this format over here. Let's try it again over here. What did they think would happen? Seattle, in the process right now of trying to repeal the fast food delivery tax, which was like a $5 bump on the fees so that all the delivery drivers could get their fair share. Like, need to make a living wage. I don't have any issue with that. But when you create a situation where you've just bumped up fees and then there's a reaction at some point in the marketplace says, no can do. And what I thought was interesting was that the owner of the McDonald's, he said on both sides of the counter, meaning his people behind him working and the people in front of him, the consumers, they get to a point where there's just like, we can't do this anymore. We're done. We can no longer afford to eat here at McDonald's. We can't do the $18 Big Mac. We can't do that. I can talk about the $18 burrito. $18 burrito, I can literally stomach, no pun intended. Because it's a killer burrito. It's the meal deal. But $18 for a Big Mac and some fries? You know what I mean? I'm just not that much of a fan of McDonald's. They have great Diet Coke, It's been growing increasingly dangerous to operate a small business in San Francisco. You can only increase someone's taxes so far before you cause them to flee. Small businesses are shutting down and taking the jobs they created with them. Gavin Newsom is reaping the fruits of his failed policies. I don't think the politicians that are in charge of this kind of stuff, I don't think they give a darn. I don't think they care. I think this is planned policy. Let's get as many to shut down as we can, and then we'll backfill it with something, or we'll work something out. But by then, we'll have the control that we need. And so we don't really care if McDonald's has been there forever. We don't really care if Arby's has been there forever. It wasn't just this one McDonald's franchise turning out the lights this month, as an Arby's, yep, on Sunset Boulevard, closing down. Rubio's, yep. Foster Freeze in Fresno also closed this month, similarly blaming the new minimum wage law as the primary driving factor. Now, when you've got a business located in a high crime area, on top of that, I mean, it's no wonder that these businesses can't stay afloat. And then you've got the local residents going, we're going to be in a food desert. Well, okay, you voted those elected officials in, and they made these decisions. So now what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? What direction are you going to take? You going to keep voting blue? Well, I mean, that seems to be working out for you because you keep doing it time and time and time again. So, yeah, I think what we're seeing is more of a push to a moderate Democrat in some of these cities. I know we certainly have seen that here in Washington State, in Seattle, because the lunatic policies of the far left, yeah, they don't really allow businesses because they don't to operate and fully function because they're socialist in nature. You know, they believe in socialism. Everybody should have a big piece of the pie. Everybody treated equally. That's not how this works. This is capitalism. Those who take the risk get the return, period. You want to be a business owner and take on all that risk, you're going to get the reward. The employees, they know what they're going to get paid hourly. And in California, it's either more than they were once getting or nothing because their business is closing down. So here's the really good question, right? Here's the really good question. What is so special about working in the fast food business that merits a 20% higher minimum wage than other unskilled labor jobs? Right? Yeah. Why is that? Just bump that one up. But, you know, if you are a food company that bakes your own bread products, you're exempt. You're exempt. That was one of Newsom's buddies. He got that exemption. So Newsom's administration, governor of California, they declared that this was a living wage. Well, by living, do you mean even if you don't have a job? I mean, you're still living, but you're not employed. So a living wage that people deserve, but rather than bringing home more money, the workers at all these businesses are now unemployed. Well, the McDonald's one says, we're going to move them to another location. Well, that is a stellar indication that you've got some real issues going on. And, you know, the policy that's been put in place is just out of whack with trying to make a profit. And they're still living in an area with a disastrously high cost of living, and these employees are unemployed. So how is the law working out for them? Another really good question, right? How's that working out for you? How about them apples? Like them apples? Closed. The state doesn't seem interested in changing course, so a lot of these workers should probably figure out a way to escape to a more sane state. Washington State, you going to come to Washington? Not sane. If they have the wherewithal to do so. If you can make that kind of change, right? Because a lot of folks, you know, they're kind of stuck where they're located. They're like, I don't have money for the first and last month's rent. I don't have this. I don't have a reliable car. My kids are here. I've got this going on. I got that going on. Or if you're, you know, I don't have a college degree. I got a bunch of college debt. I got all kinds of, you know, reasons why I need that job. Can't really make a move. Kind of stuck located in a system. And the system all of a sudden says, well, in your industry, you're going to get paid more. That's if you can keep a job. But it's not just the fast food that's been impacted by this. Anybody competing for those same employees, like we talked about. Hey, why is it just fast food that was singled out here? That's an interesting one. And if you think you know, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think the real reason is. Are these businesses being closed on purpose? That is the question that I kind of keep hearing in little pop-ups there, little pop-up there, just that mindset of, hey, we think this is on purpose because the government's trying to control. And it sounds like one of those wacky conspiracy theories. But what is the real reason that so many of these businesses are closing, whether it's from crime? You got a homeless encampment. I mean, you got the Sunset Studios, having a tough time staying open. One of the most iconic studios on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles, staying open because they've got a whole bunch of homeless people, of which one guy came in, broke into the Sunset Studios and took a dump on a drum set. Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, just a big old number dose on the drum set. Just like they didn't steal anything. They just came in, I gotta go. Oh. Right? I mean, and the city isn't helping out. In fact, the city is telling Sunset Studio, you got to move those planter structures that you have on the sidewalk. You got to move those because, we need the tents back in. We need the tents back. And you're like, wait a minute. Who are we? Who's paying the taxes here? Who's driving the economy? Doesn't seem like it's small business or medium business. It seems like it's the homeless. Yeah, we need to let the homeless back on the sidewalk. So where you have massive ADA violations, that's okay. But doing business with a long-time established studio that, got its start with Walt Disney, I think it was. Yeah, we don't want that business to operate. That's just not good for anybody. Long-standing business with roots in the community. Now, we need the homeless people back. F those planters that don't allow them to stay there. No. We need those homeless tents. We need the drugs. We need the stench. We need the crap on the sidewalk and the drum kit. I mean, we need the smell of urine. Man, I was over in Seattle. Oh, was it Friday? Yeah, it was Friday. So I went to my girlfriend and we paddleboarded over to the Ivers Salmon House is what it is. It's not a very far paddleboard from where I had the paddleboards. It was maybe a 5-minute paddleboard, but it's across a cut. And so we ate our delicious clam and fries. They're killer. Ivers, if you haven't been to Seattle and done the Ivers thing, it's one of those iconic Seattle things. But I walked past this bush and I was like, I had just eaten and I literally had one of those moments because it smelled like human feces so bad. It was just gross, right? Somebody had taken number 2 in the bush. And this is right next to the dumpsters where Ivers takes out all their food. And so I just kind of tried to hold it together. And you know how you do that. But, when you've got that kind of smell going on and people don't really want to go into an iconic recording studio, no matter what the smell is. And I probably won't park our paddleboard at the same park because I can still smell what that smelled like. It's not conducive to business, but government in a lot of these locations does not seem to care. Everything is focused around the homeless and, how can we make your lives better? Because you're not paying any of the taxes, but man, we've got a lot of tax money going in to support you. How can we make your lives better? And zero help to the businesses that provide those taxes. So, yeah. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Love to have you subscribe, do all that good YouTube stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.